Wednesday, February 19, 1896. The New York Times. He shot to kill 3. A German laborer murdered his wife in Brooklyn, his son and grandchild dying. His deed premeditated for weeks. When apprehended, the police with difficulty prevented his lynching. Crazed by jealousy and thirsting for vengeance because his family and friends had deserted him, Franz Michael Schwab, a German laborer, 55 years old, of 198 Johnson Avenue, Brooklyn, shot and killed his wife Katrina and then sent a bullet through the skull of his son Bernard and another through the chest of Bernard's 9 weeks old son Christian at 5:30 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Bernard and his infant child were alive in St. Catherine's Hospital at a late hour last night, but the doctors say that it is impossible for either father or son to recover. The murderer was arrested shortly after the tragedy and narrowly escaped lynching while on his way to the Vernon Avenue police station. The tragedy was enacted on the second floor of the 4-story frame tenement 201 Throop Avenue, where Bernard Schwab and his family lived. Bernard keeps a saloon on the ground floor. The dead woman had made her home with Bernard since last May, when she was forced to leave the man who took her life yesterday, owing to his systematic abuse and ill treatment of her. The murderer called at the Throop Avenue house last Sunday and asked his wife if she would not go housekeeping again with him. As he was tired of boarding, she refused to have anything to do with him. He called again yesterday evening and went up to his wife's apartments, which were on the floor above the saloon. The woman was evidently expecting somebody, for she had the door locked. Schwab rapped at the door and his wife asked, "Who is that?" "It is your son Louis," replied the murderer. The rest of the story, as told in Schwab's words to Captain Eason, is: "As soon as my wife opened the door," said Schwab to the captain, "I saw Bernard's child in her arms. I fired 2 shots at her, but she ran past me out into the hallway and down the stairs, where she fell in a heap with the child. My son Bernard, he then comes out of the saloon and runs and takes hold of the baby. Then I fired 2 more shots at Bernard and put 1 bullet through his right eye and another through the child. Bernard, he then run into the saloon with the baby, and I went back in the room on the 2nd floor and went down the fire escape to the street. I was going up Summer Avenue when policeman John McMullen grabbed hold of me and takes me back to the house. I thought to kill Bernard's wife too, but she stayed in the saloon and didn't come out." Mrs. Schwab was shot through the abdomen. She lived about 5 minutes after the shooting. Louis Schwab, the murderer's second son, was in a room downstairs while the shooting was going on. He heard the cries in the hallway and ran out to see what was the matter. As he did so, he stumbled over the dead body of his mother. Although crazed at the terrible sight, Louis ran to the neighbors and asked them to send for the police. In a few minutes, Captain Eason, Detective Sergeant Smith, Roundsman Hatton, and Policeman Grossel arrived at the saloon. Soon afterward, ambulances from St. Catherine's and the Eastern District hospitals arrived. "If it had not been for the coolness displayed by Policeman McMullen," said Captain Eason to a reporter for the New York Times last night, "Schwab would have been lynched. The mob tried to take him from the policeman and settle him themselves." On the way to the station house, Schwab told the policeman who arrested him that he purchased the revolver in a Grand Street pawn shop 2 weeks ago. "I bought it for the purpose of killing my wife," he said, "and paid only $1.50 for it. My wife wouldn't live with me anymore, and so I kills her." Schwab has been employed in Bassett's planing mill on Newtown Creek for several years. Captain Eason thinks that he is insane.